All right, we kind of got some answers about the Auburn quarterback situation.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on in to Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. DJ Durkin just got done discussing several things with the media. We'll talk a little bit about what he said about Mercer, about his job interview, but he said, okay, obviously the first question was about Ashton Daniels. What are they going to do about his red shirt? He was asked if they've decided that, and the answer to that is yes. They have decided it, that he is not going to play. He talked about the balance when you're a head coach in regards to you got to balance what's best for a football team, but also balance what's best for the players and the kids and their families. And of course, that is to allow him to sit against Mercer, play in the Iron Bowl, and then he'll have another year left of college football, which is great. The following question, which is really the question I think most people want to know, I think we all assume the Ashton thing, but he wouldn't commit to a starter. He did say multiple times that both Deuce Knight and Jackson Arnold would both play in the game, but he would not commit to a starter. He also asked a follow-up question because maybe they didn't fully understand his answer, but he asked the question with the assumption of Deuce, and he's like, no, we haven't made a decision yet there. So I'm curious to see what exactly that'll play out. Will we know that at some point this week? Possibly. My thing is, if you're going to play Deuce and Jackson, my immediate reaction, which is what this is, the presser just ended seconds ago. My immediate reaction is if you tell me we're going to play Jackson and Deuce, that tells me that Jackson is start. Why would you start Deuce and then put Jackson in as a backup? Is just what my gut reaction is to that. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe, we don't fully know how DJ Durkin operates as a head coach here. I'm not sure. I want Deuce to start. I've been pretty clear on that. It'd be great for Jackson to get an opportunity as well, but I have a hard time visualizing Deuce is the guy, and then they bring Jackson in. Well, here's one thing I hope they don't do. One thing I hope they don't do is you get a series. I hope that's not it either, because I don't think Mercer is a bad football team. I don't think they are. He talked about him in his opening statement, talked about how good of a job Mercer does, that they're well coached. They've already clinched their conference. They're 9-1, first nationally on offense. They lead the nation in sacks, and they've got a good freshman quarterback who they push the ball downfield with vertical routes, and their receivers go out and get it. So this is going to be a game where I think a few scores early would be super, super important. From a talent standpoint, the trenches are going to be pretty lopsided. And so there it is. But yeah, that his answers today made me think, if I'm reading between the lines, it kind of made me think that Jackson's starting. Because then he even went on to say that Deuce has got a lot of good football ahead of him. I don't know. Once again, this is just an instant reaction. That's all this is. But when reading between the lines of what he said, that made me think that Jackson might start. And then the plan is for both of them to play. I think I question the upside of Jackson starting and you not giving Deuce as many reps as possible for the future. I'd be shocked if Jackson was here next year. I think both are going to want a fresh start, both sides, both he and Auburn. So that'll probably be a mutual parting of ways. And you got to hope that Deuce is here next year. So I'm just kind of, I think it's just kind of interested that I'm a little surprised. I'm a little surprised by the answer, but it's early. It's early. He said they're going to open it up throughout practice, and we'll go from there. So there you go. For those who were able to watch it, or just based off of the comments, who do y'all think? Who do y'all think is going to be? Genuinely curious. He talked about a good week of prep, good week of practice, talked about kind of executing and maximizing the bye week, which is good. Talked about how much they worked and got a lot of things done on specific things in all three phases of the game. Of course, offense, defense, and special teams, which is how you should use a bye week, especially this late in the season. I certainly hope that they were looking a little bit at Alabama stuff. Obviously, you want to kind of put as much tape as possible together, or look at as much Alabama stuff as far as their tape as you possibly can, leading up into this. But you got to take Mercer seriously, because I do think Mercer is a solid team. No question about it. A lot of people in the chat saying Deuce, and I think Deuce makes more sense. I don't know if that lines up with what we heard today. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And look, Auburn can whoop Mercer with Jackson Arnold, right? Auburn can, it's not about winning or losing. Unless you lose, then it becomes that bad. I just don't think that's in the cards. But yeah, I'm curious to see what happens throughout this week. He was also asked about, has he talked to John Cohen about interviewing for the Auburn job? Let's take a stab at that in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book right now. New customers at FanDuel, if your first $5 bet hits, you get $300 to use in bonus bets throughout the app. I'm not positive that there's going to be a line on FanDuel for Auburn and Mercer. It would normally be up by now, and it does not seem to be up anymore. It's just not up. There's no football lines for Auburn. So plenty of cupcakes throughout the SEC slate, though. So we'll see. It's going to be a lot of lopsided lines when those do drop. Right now, once again, FanDuel is offering new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets for anything: football, basketball, baseball, concerts, the theater, comedy shows. Doesn't matter what it is. Well, Auburn's got 2 more home games. You want to be there. And Game Time is the hookup to get you there. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that is promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. I loved Durkin's answer to when he was asked, hey, have you talked to John Cohen? Have you interviewed with him? What's going on there? Which is a great question to ask. And he says he views every day as an interview. Sounds like they talk often. He made it sound like it was more than just, job interview stuff. That is just normal interaction between, things throughout the program. I just don't see a world where Auburn is going to hire a head coach. And this is something I've pivoted on, because I used to think if Auburn were to hire Sumrall or whatever defensive-minded head coach, that DJ Durkin would be gone. And I just don't feel that way anymore. I think no matter who Auburn hires as head coach, obviously unless it's DJ Durkin, that DJ will be the DC. I just have that's just what my gut is telling me. And of course, John Cohen, if that's true, of course, John Cohen would talk to DJ Durkin every step of the way, because I'm not saying he's going to be involved in the decision, but I think John Cohen would appreciate Durkin's input. I don't think that's a crazy thing to ask for at all. So that is something that I think I have pivoted on. I think Durkin will be on Auburn's staff next year. I would be surprised if he was Auburn's next head football coach. We'll obviously see what happens. And, if he beats Alabama, does that change things? But I don't think it will be DJ Durkin, but I do think DJ Durkin will be here. So that is my guess. So I love that he was asked that question, and I love his answer that he sees every day as an interview, which is important, which is the right way to go about it. So, I mean, the biggest thing was obviously him saying the bye week was successful, him giving Mercer the proper respect that they deserve, which I think is plenty. I think they deserve it. And then obviously the discussion about Ashton and his red shirt, which is exciting that Ashton will be here next year, probably. I can't imagine he would transfer. And so I think that's going to be a good situation. I think it's going to be a good situation. So I'll stick around for like a few minutes if anybody has any questions or comments, and then we'll kind of put a bow on it. But yeah, that's the instant reaction. Durkin's pressers versus Freeze's pressers, very different. Very different. I think they're a lot, and I say this in a good way, but like, I mean, they're pretty dry, pretty boring, pretty uneventful. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all. Probably not going to talk basketball right now, Taylor. That is a good question, though. Sam pointing out, I really like how he said there isn't two sides of the football. We are a unit of one team, 100%. I also think that's a little bit of a callback to some of the culture issues over the last few years, because it was the offense is over here, the defense is over here. So Sam, I think that's a really, really good point by you. Floppy Toppy asks, I have a question, Zach. What steak and what temp does Brad Law get at Big Mike's? I hope he's like a medium rare guy. I hope. We'll have to ask him. Floppy Toppy, hang out at the Barn Cast. It's live every Friday at 10 over at the Barn Auburn's YouTube page. Ask him. All right, cool. Thank you guys so much. Please like the video. Please subscribe. Be sure to tune in tomorrow. Kyle Rush will join me. We'll talk about this as well as the head coaching search and maybe a little Mercer as well. But the quarterback situation, the head coaching situation, definitely will be brought up. So we'll see you then. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. If you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button. Really helps the show out a ton. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.